Speed tip for you. This one definitely, I would say, after you're done watching it, I would definitely do a deep dive on YouTube about the tools I'm about to talk about, just because there's so many depths to this thing. But I've been using Illustrator for about 15 years now, 20 years, something like that. I actually don't remember. It's been a very long time. And it took me many years to start using this panel. But once I unleashed the power of it, it changed my whole way I worked in Illustrator, and just it's in my everyday workflow. It's called the appearance panel. If you've never used it, just learn it. It's amazing. It is very powerful. I'm going to show you some really cool stuff that you could do with the appearance panel, and then I'm going to show you one last little tip at the end that I won't dive in too deep, but just kind of scratch the surface. And like I said, I would definitely dive deep on the internet, go to YouTube and look up the appearance panel after watching this little kind of intro to it. Okay, so let's draw out a shape. I'm going to hit the M on my keyboard for the marquee tool to draw out a square. I'm going to draw that square out. To keep the square square, I'm going to hold the shift key as I drag out. So there we go. So now we have a square right there. Perfect. I'm going to hit the V key on my keyboard to go back to the selection tool. And over here in the appearance panel, you'll notice that it is showing pretty much what I have already. I have the fill. Oh, and by the way, just real quick, over in the toolbar, the front one is called the fill. If you come from Photoshop, you would call this the foreground color and the background color. It's not the same in Illustrator. It's the fill and the stroke. So this black front square is the fill, which is what is inside the path. And the back one is the white, which is stroke, which what goes around the shape. You won't be able to see it now, but if I drag it up here, you might be able to get a glimpse of the white stroke. It's very, very faint, very narrow. I'll give it a little beefiness so you can see that stroke around there. There's the stroke. Okay. Something to note about stroke. Actually, you know what? I'll change the color of it since we're going to work on this white artboard. You can actually see what's happening. Let's just give it like a red. There we go. Something to note about the stroke, and this does take place in the appearance panel. It can take place in the properties and also in the control bar again. Various places to make adjustments. We're gonna stick to the appearance panel for this video. The stroke can set three different ways on the path. So let me zoom in a bunch right here. So this blue line down the middle is the actual path. I'm going to jump into outline mode just so you can see this, and this is a cool way to sometimes work. It helps get rid of all the colors and distraction. I'm going to hit Command Y. It's Control Y on a PC, and now you're going to see that I just have the box. I didn't get rid of the fills. They're just hidden. What Illustrator is showing me is outline mode, and that just means it's just showing me the paths that are present. And right now it's just a square. That's all we see. So the path, that is the blue line, I'm going to hit Command Y to come back into preview mode. This blue line is how the stroke is sitting on the blue line. And if you see here, it says align stroke. I can align the stroke to the inside. So if I click the inside, you're going to see the stroke jump to the inside of that blue line, or the path. And if I click the outside, it'll jump to the outside of the path. So kind of different ways to think about it. I know sometimes people are drawing something and they're like, how come it's not lining up? Maybe the stroke is not aligned to the right side between two different objects, or you have to move it to the inside or outside or in the middle. I won't go too much into depth in the stroke panel because that would be for another video, but I just wanted you to see that just so you can see that that does bounce around, and you can do that from here. We'll just leave it on the center for now. Okay, so I'm going to hit Command 0. Command 0 brings my full artboard into view. So the entire artboard, however big it is, will come into view when I hit Command 0 or Control 0 on a PC. All right, appearance panel. So we have black fill and we have a pink stroke. That's great. So down here at the bottom, you have a few icons. The first one is to add another stroke. The second one is to add another fill. The third one is the effects menu, which mimics the effects menu up here in the menu bar, but works differently only because I can, when using it in the appearance panel, I'm affecting certain attributes of this object. This would be to delete, to clear the appearance. So if I want to clear the entire appearance, I'll do that real quick for you, show you what that looks like. It's going to bring it down to the basics, which is just the path. You'll see now there's no stroke and no fill. I don't want it to be like that, so I'm going to hit Command Z to undo that. This will add a duplicate. If I want to duplicate what I already have built, if I built something out, I want to duplicate a fill or a stroke, I can duplicate that, and this will just delete it. So if I have something selected like this fill and I click that, it just deletes the fill and it keeps the stroke. So there you go. By default, you'll always have one, what they call it, none. It's no color. One none, that sounds funny, stroke, and one none fill in here. That by default, that'll always be there. I don't think you can even get rid of that. No, it won't let you get rid of it. You'll always have one of each. But here's where the magic comes in, since we've now went off on some tangents. I'm going to start adding fills and strokes to this object, and this is where it gets really powerful. So I'm going to add a fill, and I'm going to change this fill color. Oops. I'm going to change this fill color to green, right? Let's do that. And you're like, well, that's great, Steve. Nothing happened. Because it's behind this object. So what I'll do is, in order for me to get it out from behind there, I'm going to have this green fill selected. Remember, just like in the layers panel, if it's blue, has this blue line, that means well, in here, it means it's selected. That's what's going to be affected now by my effects that I apply down here. So with the green fill selected, I'm going to come down to effects, and I'm going to go to distort and transform, and I'll probably do another video on effects because they're just endless. But for this demonstration, I'll just go lightly over this transform effect tool because we get to use this a lot when you're doing stuff in the appearance panel. So we have scale. You can scale things up or down. You have move. You can move them left or right, up or down, horizontally, vertically. You can rotate them. These options down here I'll leave alone for now. We'll go over those another time. And you can make copies of things if you wanted to. So here we go. So I'm going to move this green fill that I have selected. I'm going to move it over. So if I start moving it, you'll see it starts peeping out from behind there. Look at that. I got like a little shadow if you want, and I probably can rotate it a little bit if I want. And what I'm doing, how I'm rotating this is I'm clicking inside this box and I'm using my arrow keys up and down. You'll notice when I hit the arrow key once, it moves in increments of 1. If I hold the shift key and I move up, it'll move in increments of 10. So it's a little cool tip for you. And that kind of works globally in Illustrator. Anywhere you can nudge something up or down, left or right, if you add the shift key, it'll move in increments of 10. So there you go. So we have that. And all right, we're going to leave that alone. We're going to hit OK. So now, if I spin this down, you'll see I have my effect, my transform effect on this green fill, right? So if I need to edit it, I can just double click this and I can come back in here and I can make some more fine-tune adjustments if I want to do that, okay? Here's where the power comes in. This green fill is connected to this blue path, which I'll jump into outline mode again. It's connected to this. You'll notice I only have one path when I go into outline mode. I have two, it looks like I have two shapes, but I really only have one. So when I start editing this path, so let's say I'm going to, just so you know, these little dots on the inside, if I hit the A key on my keyboard to get the direct selection tool, that allows me to pick one point on this shape. And you'll see this little kind of circle pops up, the white circle. That's for the corners. That's to round the corner. So if I click and drag that, it'll round the corner. But what you'll notice is now it rounds the corner on the shape below it because it's still connected to this outside object. So anything I adjust, however I adjust this, I'm going to jump through some of these little keyboard shortcuts that I just want to show you how I can adjust these. Anytime I adjust this stuff, it'll adjust that fill as well. So you can not stop there. You can just really keep going and go crazy. So let's say we're going to add another fill, right? Let's add another fill. We're going to work on this one. And we'll change the color of this one to yellow. And we're going to do another transform. So I'll go to Effects, Distort, Transform, and Transform. And this time I'm going to go the other way with it so we can see it on the other side. And hit OK. And I'm still going to have this one selected, the yellow fill selected. I'm coming back to Effects, and I'm going to go to, let's go to Stylize and Scribble. And this is going to create a scribble out of this. But now you see I can have a scribble on one of these, on just one of these fills. And so on and so forth. And it just keeps going. And you can stack fills and strokes, and you can just keep going and going. You're saying to yourself, well, that's great, but what really does this do for me in the yard card world? The great thing about this is that, I'm going to delete this. The great thing about this is, and I'll show this very elementary, but it does get a little more complicated when you have complicated shapes. But the great thing about this is that you can have your cut line kind of set with the object that you're building. So I'm going to add a stroke. I'm going to make the stroke 3 points. It's on top of everything. And then I'm going to do my offset path. So I'm going to come, let me do that again. I'm going to come to effects. I'm going to go to path, offset path. I'm going to put 0.5 in here, inches. And by the way, if you're in any window, anywhere, if you're in there and you're in a certain measurement increment that you don't want, that's not what you want to do. Most people won't know 36 points is 0.5 is a half an inch. Most people don't know that. I didn't know it up until probably 3 months ago. But if I want this to be inches, I just highlight this in there and I type 0.5 and then IN, which is abbreviation of inches, and that will be 0.5 point. There it is, 36 points. That will be a half inch. And you could do that anywhere in any of the windows where measurements are. One little quick tip too as well, you can do this. You can do addition in here or subtraction or whatever. So let's say I wanted to add 30 points to this. I could just go 36 plus 30, and I hit tab, and now you'll see I got 66. And this will do math problems. It'll do division, multiplication, all that stuff right inside that window if you need that to happen. I'm going to put this back to a half an inch. The next thing down is the joins, and usually in doing yard cards, you want to have it on round, so that's our round. And then the miter, you don't have to worry about that because that's for if you're using a miter or not. Okay, so we're just going to hit OK, and there you go. So the great thing about this is that if you're building shapes out, I'm going to just drag another shape out here. And the way I did that was I hold the Option key on a Mac, Alt key on a PC, and I just clicked and dragged. You'll see that when I hold the Option key or the Alt key on a Mac on a PC, it turns into two little arrows. That allows me to drag and make copies of the object I'm dragging. So I'll make this point real quick and then we'll wrap this video up. The reason you would do this is so that as you're prepping your work and you're laying out your yard cards, you know that you can get this super close to this without touching, and you don't necessarily have because you might still be working on the artwork. So for this, I could still now work on the artwork, but my cut lines will then reshape to whatever I'm working on. And of course, you have to get rid of this. You can't send it off like this to the printer. It has to be separated, but we'll talk about that another time. I'm just showing you that this can be set up this way so that you can hold on to this this look as you're laying out your yard cards, your elements on your yard cards. Real quick, one last tip, and this will be the end of the video. I'm just touching on stuff, like I said, do a deep dive on this stuff. Graphic styles. Graphic styles allow you to build appearances in the appearance panel and save them out to be used again later on. So let's just say I want to save this look. I love this square with the green and the fuchsia and this, or magenta, whatever you want to call that, and the stroke. I come to graphic style. I hit new graphic style, and I'm going to just save it as a test. I hit OK. It'll pop up in here, and now any shape I drag out, I can now apply. I can just click the test, and I can apply that graphic style to that shape. So you'll see how that happens there as I add new shapes or whatever. And I'm gonna I want to put my cut line on there. I just click my graphic style, and it applies. Very cool. I will do some more tips on graphic styles and appearance panel as they are interacting with layers, groups, because it does work differently and it gets a little confusing, but I'll get into that in another video. I hope this helps you out. Remember, deep dive appearance panel. Stick with it, guys.